Sesko's already got more goals in his first games with us than Rasmus did in the same time, says Max. And also, I just want to say, this is topical. Rasmus scored again for Denmark last night. He's on an amazing run. I think most of us are really pleased for him. I really am pleased for him because he's a good lad. He wanted to do well at Man United. Man United fan, I think he gave it everything, and it just didn't work out. And I think he's one of those players that you wish the best for, and it's great that it's going well for him. But this is where consistency and agenda doesn't enter the conversation, because what I'm about to say, I've said about Rashford, I've said about Anthony, I've said it about Sancho. I've said it about McTominay. I don't actually subscribe to the view that all these players that go and leave Man United and do well, I don't think it actually does reflect on the manager. I really don't, because I think if Rasmus had stayed at Man United, I don't think he'd be scoring goals for Denmark, and he certainly wouldn't be scoring goals for Man United because he wouldn't be starting. He'd be a low confidence player like Kobbie Mainoo getting no minutes. And if Kobbie Mainoo had gone to Napoli, maybe he'd be playing well. But that doesn't mean he would have been playing well for Manchester United. And what I'm trying to say is that, like, I think people do run away with the whole, oh, look at Rasmus, he's cooking at Napoli and Denmark. Oh, look at Rashford, he's cooking at Barcelona. But we forget that there's a very good reason for that. They've got a point to prove. They're in a better environment, an easier environment. And they're playing with confidence. It's like a new signing, you know. Exactly, they are like a new signing because they are like new signings. So Rashford doing well at Barcelona, Rasmus doing it well at Napoli for Denmark, and England as well for Rashford, and Denmark for Rasmus. It's not because we're shit. The opportunities were there for them at Manchester United, and it didn't work out. I don't think that's on the system or the manager. I think that's on the bigger picture as to why most players at Man United fail now. I don't think that comes down to managers, because we've had too many managers. I think it comes down to culture. I think the culture at Manchester United isn't right, and it probably is right at those clubs. But also, let's be honest, the Italian league is not playing for Man United in the Premier League, which is, you know, we're a mid-table club playing in a more intense league, so it's harder. Napoli are one of the best teams in Italy, and it's a slower league. And also, Barcelona are one of the best teams in Europe. So again, it's going to be an easier environment. There's more pressure there, but it's an easier environment. So look, I'm really happy that Rasmus is doing well, and we'll talk about Rashford in a moment. But let's not pretend he'd be scoring goals at Man United. Like, I don't think he would. I think that the problems that were there last season would still be there this season. And that is why I think, you know, it's great to see Rasmus doing well. And, you know, who knows, he might be back in the Premier League in 3 years' time. He'll still only be 25, scoring goals for somebody else. And, you know, that will be something that maybe we look at. But ultimately, we've got Sesko. I'm very happy with Sesko. That's my point. And I think that, I just think we've got to be very protective of these players. And I think we were very protective of Rasmus when he was here, and we were very patient. And I think we have to be the same with Sesko, because as you can see, people are always trying to knock us down and cause us problems, as we've seen. Just talking about Rashford this morning, very interesting news coming out of Barcelona over the weekend that they're not going to renew Lewandowski's contract. But this is really positive for Manchester United, because the noise coming out of Barcelona in relation to Rashford is very different to the last international break, where, if you remember correctly, there was talk of his loan deal being stopped early and him being sent back. And obviously that was dismissed by Hansi Flick and Barcelona as a load of nonsense. But a month later, it's a very different story. He's obviously scored that goal against Newcastle. He's doing quite well. They're very happy with him. And if he can, and the story coming out of Barcelona is that if he continues this form, they always expected an adjustment period in a new league, then there's a very high chance that they will activate the £25 million clause in the summer. Now, with Lewandowski going as well, and with Rashford playing well, and the price being reasonable, I think there is a very, very high chance. And obviously Rashford wants to stay. I think there's a very, very high chance that this deal could happen. And I think we have to take that as a positive this Monday morning, because the amount of players that we have sent on loan and it hasn't worked out I think we might have looked at it in the summer and gone, what if Rasmus doesn't get game time at Napoli? What if Rashford flops at Barcelona? They're both back next summer. So I think it's very positive on that sense that decisions have been made on those players, and those players have moved on and are doing well. I suppose the question is, it's only October. What if Rashford drops off between now and May and Barcelona decide to send him back? I think there's a very slim chance of that. I think injury could cause that problem, but I don't think form will cause that problem because, I mean, Rashford used to be one of my favourite players with Anthony Martial, so I'm well versed in what Rashford's like when he's on it. And I just don't think there's much chance of Rashford dropping off. I mean, whisper it under your breath. It might happen in year 2 or 3. We've seen that before. But in year 1, I don't think Rashford will drop off because he's living the dream. He's proven a point. And most important of all, it's World Cup year. I think we're going to see a lot of players performing well this year. And look, that's human nature. Like, if it's not World Cup year, maybe you go, but it's World Cup year.